Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I am Yavin Shorty, and to say there's not many options to review right now would be an understatement, so I'm reviewing Cable. I'd like it to go on record that if I'm ever reviewing Cable, it means I've run out of other things to review. And it's kind of hard to really get under the teeth of this one. There is one aspect of which I really thought was interesting, but unfortunately Cable is not a character I find particularly interesting, so it's already an uphill battle to kind of get me on board with this one. Even Denise Camp doing Children of the Vault, I had to make it about Bishop at the same time, and also have this really cool over-the-top sci-fi epic thing going on. And even then, I still find Cable quite dull. You can make some jokes about the fact that he's from the extreme 90s kind of era, and he has a lot of pouches. But honestly, I think doing that too much, and I'll even Denise Camp a little bit for that one. You kind of just, lampshading the fact that is just what people are going to joke about, but if you're making the joke yourself, surely it's fine. And there is a moment in this one where the writer, I actually forgot the name of the writer, Nikieza, does actually make a pretty good swing at this one when Cable encounters one of the Stark Sentinels, and it's like, oh, they're way better than the original ones. The original Sentinels, I could defeat with the contents of one pouch. And it's like, yeah, good attempt there, I like that. But for all the little attempts at good writing, which were enjoyable, it didn't pop too much just on a surface level kind of thing. I'd give it a really solid B-. Artwork as well does the same kind of thing. It doesn't really have much room to be excellent. It does what a Marvel comic should do. It's big and it's bold and it's exciting. There's some really nice moments of sci-fi going on in there. I mean, almost all the over-the-top sci-fi moments are handled really effectively. The stuff involving young Cable Hat being experimented on, and the lab that happens in is really, really cool. It looks brutish, but also kind of cool and shiny at the same time, which is nice. There's also, unfortunately, a really kind of messed up bit of onomatopoeia which happens in it, and it's such a mess that genuinely it took me a few attempts to even realise what the sound effect they were going for was, and it kind of messed up the entire panel as a result of it. So again, solid attempt, but hard to give you anything more than a B-. And I would have had this review kind of stall out at that point. Only so many times you can say I find Cable boring, and having, the team up being with a younger version of Cable doesn't really fill me with joy. Having two one-dimensional characters doesn't mean two dimensions, it just means an awful lot more one dimension. But then something happened, and it was only after I'd read it and I was kind of thinking how to get across some of the more frustrating aspects of the character. But then I realised the creators of this one have actually seen that, or at least I think they have. This is where artwork comes down to, interpretation. And it could very well be that the creators of this comic book wanted Cable to be this stoic man from the future who's seen how bad things can get and will stop at nothing to make the world better for all mankind, and mutant kind as well. But I think there's a chance there's a different intention here. Because early on, when he's dealing with the Sentinel as an example, and he totally destroys it, he fully admits that means Orchis is going to know what's going on. Because this is a Fall of the House of X comic, and it ties in with what's going on, and he just didn't seem to care that Orchis would know that a mutant had done that. And Orchis has been pretty clear what happens if they know about mutants. It doesn't end well for people. And then, later on, we have the young Cable basically trying to really hammer home that this is an important thing. What's going on now really does matter. We need to solve this problem. People are dying now. And Cable is so determined, so set in his ways, so one-dimensional that even though he has access to time travel and is aware of different timelines, as in a multiversal kind of situation, he's still so determined to fight the one thing that he thinks is going to be the worst and only use the same methods to do it. And getting called out on it, explicitly by the younger version of himself, gave you a nice little moment of the whole benevolent tech pro kind of thing, where they're looking at the best ways to make the best future. And other YouTubers, far more adept at this kind of thing than I, have gone to quite good detail about how terrible this is when, if you look far enough into the future and you realise the problems you're trying to solve are for the worst problems the future can have, but you're willing to let other bad things happen because they're not as important, when you could do something about those, doesn't make you a nice guy. That's not that benevolent at all. It's not altruistic. That is kind of selfish and self-aggrandizing. And I'd like to think that that's what they're getting at here with Cable. That he is so determined just to go for this one superior solution that only he is aware of because he's seen it, he's lived it, and nobody else can really get it across, that he's willing to sacrifice an awful lot of the present and even the near future because he's incapable of seeing it any other way, even though he knows it's possible. It's an interpretation. I don't know if that's what they're doing, but it at least made me think more about the comic book and think about the depth that you can see within what is a kind of standard Marvel action mutant story, and I appreciate them for doing that at least. That's it for me for now and for this week. We are all out of stuff. A bunch of release supposed to come out this week, didn't come out this week, so they're coming out next week, so I'm going to jam next week full of reviews. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.